This podcast is a production of WCWP, LIU Public Radio. Check out our lineup of original programs, listen live, or support by visiting WCWP.org.
The following is a presentation of Project Independence and WCWP. Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead. We provide programs and services designed to assist and support the older town residents who wish to remain in their homes as they age. If we don't currently provide a service, we will try and connect you to that service. Call 311 or 869-6311 to get more information or receive services.
Welcome to Project Independence and You.
Welcome to WCWP.org, Project Independence and You radio show on Senior Talk Radio. Today is going to be a great informative show. We are going to be speaking with Nassau County Comptroller Jack Schnirman, and we're going to be getting some updates with the Nassau County Comptroller's office. And of course, the spectacular Otto Lohse, co-host of Project Independence and You. How are you, Otto?
Good morning. Always a pleasure to be with you.
It is mutual for sure.
Yeah.
So we have the Nassau County Comptroller right now, Jack Schnirman. Jack, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much, Rebecca. Good morning, and good to see you, Otto, as well. Thank you so much for having me, and to Project Independence for hosting the discussion today.
Oh, great. We're so glad. We're really glad to have you too. So we're just going to get right into it and talk a lot about the Comptroller's office and the updates. So, for kind of most people, I think it could be confusing, like what's a Comptroller's office different from, the business office or finance. So if you could just give us kind of the role of the Comptroller's office in Nassau County, that would be great.
You got it. And again, I'm happy to be here. Project Independence has set such an incredibly high bar for providing quality service to seniors in North Hempstead. It's a program that really makes a difference in people's lives. So it means so much to me to be able to join you today. So let's talk about what a Comptroller does. Put simply, the Comptroller is the Chief Financial Officer of Nassau County. I'm the watchdog of our county government and our finances, and I watch over them so that we can improve the county services that we all care about and make sure that we look out for anything wasteful, anything inefficient, and we save money wherever we can. And so while the traditional role of the office has been that, there are also some more modern ways that we've built upon them to serve our county's residents. We've been publishing reports regularly on the state of the county's finances. We've been analyzing and reporting on the state of the county's budget, maintaining the county's financial record, the books, so to speak, making them more accessible to people in ways that they never have been before, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a moment. And we conduct field audits of everything from county vendors and departments. We audit every expense that the county has to make sure that we catch anything that needs catching, and we certainly have caught our share of things. And we administer the county's payroll and our health benefits, making sure that everybody gets what they need and they deserve in a timely basis, which is absolutely critical in such a difficult time like this. And we pay the county's bills, and we try to pay them right, and we try to pay them on time. And paying them on time is absolutely critical in such difficult times like now when people are hurting. So those are the traditional and the sort of the nuts and bolts in a nutshell of what we do. But as I mentioned, looking from a more modern perspective, our office has identified more than $23 million in waste, fraud, inefficiency, and we've recovered more than $7.6 million on behalf of our taxpayers, residents. So these results, really stem from the 4 critical priorities that we set out on our first day of office and have governed the way we have approached our work since day one. In fact, day one, I took a piece of paper where I'd written down the 4 priorities, and they were the 4 things that I told the public I would do when I ran for office. And day one in the office, I handed them out to the entire staff, and they were, number one, we're going to open up and we're going to modernize the county's finances. Number two, we're going to conduct smart audits to make sure everybody gets the bang for the buck we deserve, so to speak, from county services. Number three, we're going to clean up and reform the county contracting system that had had scandal after scandal over a period of years. And finally, we're going to eliminate waste and fraud and inefficiency by calling on the public to get involved, because everybody sees something that drives them crazy. And so we say, if you report it, we'll reform it. And we opened up an avenue to the public like that to get everybody involved. So now COVID-19 obviously has changed day-to-day life almost overnight. And we already were focused on modernization and updating the way the county does business. And I think that really helped us as an office effectively transition to working largely remotely, using technology to coordinate and to collaborate and to have conversations like this that we're doing today. So I guess before we sort of get into some of the more broader things, our office put out 3 priorities during COVID. And number one was to make sure that we expedite our role in processing the county's needs for COVID-19 related resources and make sure that we help our first responders get everything they need and keep us safe. And we do everything we can to keep our workers safe as well, which leads me to number 2, making sure that our county employees get paid on time, even though our folks weren't able to access the office in the way that they usually were. That's been successful. And number 3, make sure that the county continues its critical operations, paying our vendors, paying nonprofits that do the critical services in communities that really matter at a time like this, and putting hundreds of millions of dollars into our local economy every month. And people now more than ever really need to rely on that certainty of that money coming to keep things going. So those have been our priorities, and I'm proud to say that thus far they've been successful.
You do all that with 10 people?
Great question. So we have.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
We have 81 people overall. Our management team is 15. We have 4 divisions. We have an audit division, an accounting division, payroll and health benefits, and then we have a claims division, which basically pays the county's bill. So we don't actually have that big of an office. 81 people is significant, but in the totality of a 7,500 person workforce, we are a small piece of the county's operation, but a very, very important piece.
Well, a question I have, I'm always interested in, is working remotely is a new challenge for many people. And having the number of people you have working remotely, that's not an easy task. First of all, many people are not set up to work remotely, and their home is not set up. They're technically not set up. That's probably been a challenge by itself, I would think.
It has. And one of our biggest successes. So before the pandemic hit, we were pursuing a variety of modernizations. In fact, as I had mentioned, it had become, it had been our number one priority in taking office. And the reason for that was basically 2 things. 1, to save money, and 2, to promote transparency. And we've been really focused on those 2 things. We had a financial system in the county that was, 50 years old, basically, and had been cited by our auditors as a material weakness and really a hindrance to our operations and wasting a lot of people's time and money. So we set out working with the county executive's office and the legislature to modernize that, and we're making progress there. Also, the county had gotten a grade D in transparency. And so we set out to, in our first couple years, to really improve that. And we opened the Open Nassau Transparency Portal. So now anybody can go on the web and check out Open Nassau. It's opennassau.nassaucountynY.gov. Anybody can go there and see whatever information you might be interested in. You can see every dollar the county spends. You can see how our workforce is paid and who, what departments make what and how big they are and how it all works. You can see the money that comes in. You can see all the details about the county's budget. There's so much you can see right there, just like you can look at your own financial information, on your computer, on your phone, even on your tablet, and all of that is there transparently for you. And so our thought is everybody should have the power of that information so we can have a fact-based discussion. And that's been a dramatic sea change. So all that set the stage for us to be able to work together using the transparency tools and the technology that we have to work during COVID. I'll tell you, I was very, very worried at first that we'd be able to make a transition because historically government is slow to adapt to technology and not always quick to embrace change. But I have to give tremendous credit to our workforce that really, rose to the challenge of this crisis, and things have been relatively seamless. We use we're having this conversation right now on Zoom. We use something called Microsoft Teams to collaborate through our office structure, and it keeps people engaged, talking with each other. So you're in a virtual environment, so to speak, and you're able to dialogue with your coworkers almost the same way you would if you were in the same room. There's certainly no substitute for being in the same room. Obviously, that's not safe during a pandemic, but we've been able to keep our productivity up and keep our employees safe during the crisis, and that's something that I'm eternally grateful for. We owe the county's IT department a huge thank you for providing our staff with the laptops, the iPads, whatever the case, whatever they needed to be able to be productive from home. We did our accounting department just finished the county's annual audit and comprehensive annual financial report almost exclusively remotely, which was no easy task. And for the third year in a row, completed that on time. It's something that had historically been done late for a period of years. So it's certainly, it's a great question, Otto, and it's certainly been a big challenge. And so far, it has been a successful one. And I think that's something I'm eternally grateful for.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a magic wand. People say, oh, they work remotely. Well, it doesn't just happen quite like that. There's a lot involved. I've been involved with it through something else that I'm involved with. And it's a challenge. A lot of people do not have the physical structure to work home. They do not have the technical equipment that they need. So, to do what you're doing is not easy. I know it,
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes crisis presents an opportunity. And so I think, while this crisis has been so difficult, so challenging, and in some ways such a sad time for our region and our country, there are certain silver linings that we look to and opportunities for improvement going forward. And I think one of them.
We're coming up to our first break, Comptroller Schnirman, and when we get back, it'd be a great place to start off right where we're going to break. So we've been talking with Nassau County Comptroller Jack Schnirman, and we will be right back.
Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead. Some of the many services we offer include nursing and social work services. Call 311 or 869-6311 to get more information or receive services.
Hey, welcome back to Project Independence in You, right here at WCWP.org. Also 88.1 FM on the radio. Comptroller Schnirman, we like to point that out too. So if you still have a radio and you have a dial, you just kind of you turn the dial actually physically with your fingers and get it to go to 88.1 FM, and you can hear it on the radio.
But and there's also do it on your smartphone.
Your app. So
Right.
There's a great app. It's WCWP Radio, and it's great for listening to all shows live. So there's a lot of different ways you can listen to Project Independence in You, and also all the programming on WCWP.org. So we've been talking with Nassau County Comptroller Jack Schnirman, and we're so happy to have you here and really giving us a great kind of course on the role of the controller's office. And of course, you know, we're here on Zoom and not doing this live because we're in this kind of pandemic phase 3. And what you were saying before break, and one of the things that we also realize that's happening with the town is, just like with Sandy, you learn so many things from these crises, and then you become a little bit more prepared. I don't know that anybody was ever truly 100% prepared for what happened, but a lot of the things that we've done at Project Independence to kind of connect with the seniors and continue our programming, expand our programming, make it all safe, we're going to carry through once we get back to, you know, people being able to gather live in the old-fashioned way. But there's a lot of stuff that we changed and that we're doing now that we're going to be doing into the future. Have you all found that as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we're finding that there's a lot of things that are that we're going to change going forward, and things that will be done differently. And you know, the crisis, they say necessity is the mother of invention, right? And in crisis there is opportunity. So I think, you know, during this time, we've seen a variety of things that have pushed us forward, and obviously embracing technology, and even people who, you know, are not that technology savvy are embracing technology. I laugh, and I think I've now been to several Zoom Seders over Passover. We hosted, you know,
Right.
we were able to have more family than ever before at our Seders. And I'll confess that the first night, it was a little bit of a failure. It didn't go that smooth. But you know what? The second night Seder, I think everybody who was there, and it was more than normal, because people wherever they were could, you know, we had people from North Carolina on the line, and from, you know, from Chicago on the line, and from New Jersey, and from LA. I think everybody had a great time, and everybody stayed longer than they otherwise would, because we all missed people too. So there are some silver linings like that, and some opportunities like that. I've had the opportunity over Zoom to catch up with old college classmates that I haven't talked to in years. And, you know, I think we've all had those sorts of experiences. And so too in government is that opportunity present. You know, in government, we spend an awful lot of time in meetings. People spend an awful lot of time driving to those meetings, creates an awful lot of traffic,
True.
spends an awful lot of time. And I think now we know that there are certain meetings that work best in person, and yet there are certain meetings that we can do virtually over Zoom or whatever platform, and that saves time, and that saves money, and that saves gas, and that saves headaches, and that's a good, healthy thing as we move forward. I know. I think, you know, we all wish that that people had the ability to be wherever they wanted to be, but we also are all enjoying a little less traffic on the roads right now. And I think we have the potential of some long-term reductions in traffic coming out of this time, which would be a positive, a little bit less of a headache for all of us. So in the controller's office, we're embracing those technologies and looking for ways to save money using them. And that's central to our goal. So wherever we can find ways to save some money and save some time, you know, we're here to recommend doing that.
I think the flip side of that is I agree completely that it's going to be here. There's no question about it. And the fact that people will work remote, I believe, will become standard. Maybe not full time, but every other week, or pick a number. But part of that is going to be that some of the side effects, if you will, is that less office space will be needed. People will not be going to a local restaurant as much near an office building. You know, so there are other things that are going to impact the county, I would say, from a you know, an income point of view. And I don't know if it's possible to imagine all the possibilities and what the impact would be, but I suspect that there's a lot of thinking going on in the county. sales tax revenues are probably going to go down no matter what. My opinion.
Absolutely. So let me start there. So the county's biggest source of revenue is sales tax, even bigger than property taxes. Sales tax accounts for about 40% of the county's budget. And sales tax in the last couple of years before this one was at really record high levels. And it was a key, if not the key ingredient in some of the financial progress the county has made in the last several years. We just finished our annual audit, and we found that in 2019, the county was back in the black for the first time. County ran $145 million operating surplus, which is a big improvement, and not just an improvement because it's in the black, but because as recently as 2017, you saw deficits in well over $100 million. But sales tax is economically sensitive, and it really just is a mirror image of the economy, right? It's the spending patterns of the economy most broadly. We just completed in my office a financial impact analysis of looking at sales tax analysis and how it's doing during COVID-19. And that was a big part of planning for the immediate future, what comes next, what the revenue will mean for our county budget in the short term and over the course of the next couple of years. So we put together a range of potential impacts on county revenues with the goal of making sure that we can assure that essential government services will continue unimpeded and the quality of life can be best protected for our people both now and in the future. And these projections included in our fiscal analysis show potential low and high impact ranges based on a variety of factors that we're going to be continuing to monitor and reflect sort of the best information at the time. So here's what we found, and this gets to what we're talking about, and I'll give you some of the real life examples in a moment. Under the current, as we're phasing in reopening the economy, the analysis indicates a potential sales tax loss of between 12.25 and 28%. That would cost the county $156 to $360 million during 2020. We have been trending towards a little over 20%, which is sort of just above the mid-range of the scenario. And obviously that blows a hole in the budget for 2020, no doubt about it, and really is a reflection of just what you said. Consumer spending is down in all the different categories and subcategories, everything from restaurants to automobile dealerships to malls and shopping and gas as well. All of that, being, of course, down. It all amounts to an unprecedented gut punch for our economy, for our economy and for our county government. And like I said, that comes on the heels of things being in a good place beforehand. So if you look at where we're at and what that means, and you see restaurants having been shut down and just less spending overall, the question as you raise is, so what happens in the future? And we're going to keep modeling using this tool to sort of project where we are and how the different 27 retail trade subsectors are going to do and where they're at and how it all works. But long story short, as you might imagine, there's certainly some threats to our economy here, but probably also, just like we were talking about earlier with technology, some opportunities. Here's what I mean. So let's take office space, for example, that we were just talking about. Certainly, certain kinds of office space are potentially, not as critical right now. However, folks in New York City and in sort of the big buildings may be looking for satellite offices to space out their workforce better. So there's the possibility that the office space that some of our firms may not need here on Long Island as much could be needed by New York City. We have to see how that all settles out over a period of time. There will be some natural movement, and some of it is predictable and some too early to predict. There's some discussion of, the housing market being strong because there's folks who are looking to move from New York City out to the suburbs right now, and now's a great time for, sort of that suburban lifestyle, and people value the space in their home. So that presents an opportunity as we go forward. So hopefully, the opportunities will step in and account for the threats. Here in the Comptroller's office, we'll be running the numbers on it as best we can and putting out the best data and information that we can so that everybody has access to it and can make good decisions and make sure that we're in as strong a position as we can possibly be as a county. And, I would just point out there's a variety of different things that we have looked at over a period of years. And, some recommendations that we've made in order to do things like keep our young people here and, sort of constantly update our competitiveness as a suburb so that we can remain strong going forward. And I think we're in the process now of taking a second look at those recommendations. And what we're coming up with is a lot of them we see, yep, these were right on, and we need to, look at doing these things on an expedited basis during the crisis in order to make sure that our economy can recover as quickly and as fully as possible.
Well, less office space could lead to maybe people doing a little more construction, get the high sign, a little more construction as far as affordable homes go. And also, I think there'll be less of a need for creating new malls. So maybe...
Well, you know what, Otto, we'll get back to that point, but we do have to take a short break. We've been speaking with Nassau County Comptroller Jack Schnirman, and we will be back in just a moment.
Project Independence is the aging in place initiative of the town of North Hempstead. Some of the many services we offer include fitness classes, community education, information, and referral. Call 311 or 869-6311 to get more information or receive services.
Hi, welcome back to Project Independence in You right here at WCWP.org. We have been speaking with Nassau County Comptroller Jack Schnirman, and our co-host, as always, is the wonderful Otto Lohse. Otto, before break, you were bringing up a point, and why don't we continue with that?
Well, yeah, I whatever you just said, Jack, I'm in complete agreement. And less office space and less requirements for additional malls or even retail stores could lead to people deciding, well, maybe they can start to build homes that are, or places to live in that are more affordable for younger people to keep them on Long Island and for seniors, frankly, to keep them from moving from Long Island.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. I think that's a critical component for the health of our region. Going forward, we've seen previously a steady decline in the amount of young people staying in our region, and an increase also in the amount of young people who are living at home with their parents because they can't afford to live here, and making ends meet here has become increasingly challenged. A statistic that really blew my mind was that you ask yourself, what percentage of Long Island's young people between the ages of 25 and 34 live at home with their parents? It used to be 14%. And nationally, that number is 16%. And so now, we looked at and to see what the number was here on Long Island right now. And the number is 44%.
Wow.
So 44% of young people are living with their parents here on Long Island compared to only 16% nationally. So that just shows us how expensive it is, how challenging it is, and also that means that is money that's not being put into the economy in a way that it otherwise could be if those people could afford to live on their own or in a place that they wanted to be in. And obviously that number is going to be even further challenged by the pandemic in a variety of ways due to high, rising unemployment and so on and so forth. So we see there were some numbers looking at our economy that gave us cause for concern before the pandemic that I think become even more of an issue like that now. And if we can do
I have three grandchildren in that age category, 25 to 34. Two of them live at home. They're in the 44%. And the other one moved to Denver for the reason that he could do much better in Denver than he could here. And it's not cheap there either.
Absolutely. Yep. And that's all too common. And you hit the nail right on the head. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing when, the time-honored tradition would be some component of young people, myself included in that, would go out and explore other regions, but then come back. But what we're seeing now is when they hit that 35 age range and they've saved up a little money, that's when a significant percentage of young people are deciding to move to those other regions, whether it be Denver or the Southeast or the Southwest, wherever the hot sort of place is at the moment because of lower cost of living and high amount of available jobs. And what we're seeing then is if someone leaves at 35 for that reason, they're making a life choice to plant some roots somewhere, and then they're not likely to come back. And that's a real threat to our region's economic sustainability going forward. And I'll just say on a personal level, as someone with, I have two kids, ages 4 and 2.5. I want my kids to grow up in a region and have great opportunities in this region and be able to stay. And I want them to be here selfishly because I want them to be close to me, to be honest. And I know a lot of folks feel the same way. So for me, it's personal in doing everything I can to make sure that our region presents the opportunities and the amenities and the affordability to keep our young people here. Hopefully we'll have some good sports teams too, but that's, I guess, a discussion for another day. But as we look at those numbers, right, we've got to make sure that we are offering those amenities. And so it's places to live that people can afford and that people want to live. It's the availability of good jobs. It's transportation. Traffic, as we talked about before, really plays into it. When we were putting together our reports on this subject and I spoke on college campuses, one of the things that I heard really often from young people was, I just can't stand the traffic.
Right.
Before the pandemic, I don't know that there was a real plan or that it seemed almost like too big of a problem. And as we talked about a few moments ago, one helpful opportunity coming out of the pandemic may be the potential for a long-term reduction in traffic due to more people working from home and spacing people out a little bit more. And hopefully some of those things can be good, healthy additions to our economy.
I believe that part of it is that there's a quality of life that wraps around the family if you happen to be fortunate enough to have a good family. And when you break the family up, whether you like the idea or not, by somebody moving to Denver or whatever, it's not good. It's just, it kind of deteriorates the atmosphere, if you will. It would help if the family could stay in the same, like they used to years ago. People would live near each other and it was a healthy atmosphere.
Well, that's so true. So true.
From Project Independence, of course, we're specializing with senior services. So I'm curious. I mean, this is just something I'm throwing out there. That 44% number, I mean, it's shocking. But I'm curious as to the percentage of that number where children are moving in with their parents, that it's more helpful for the parents too, because it's not just unaffordable for young families, it's also getting more and more unaffordable for our seniors. A lot of our seniors want to retire in the homes that they bought. So I'd be interested because, I disclosed here, my mother and I, my family, and we bought a house together. And, you know, it wasn't because either one of us wanted to move off of Long Island, but, you know, we were able to pool our money together and move to a place where, you know, I want to say better place, but move to where we wanted to be with my young children at the time. And, you know, so it kind of benefited both of us. So out of that 44%, because at the time when I would have been in that percentage, because I'm no longer in that age group, I'm older, I'm just curious as to the plan for that. You know, it's not always just the kids staying with their parents in the basement or, you know, in their old bedroom. It's a planned thing. So I think that, you know, it would be interesting to kind of like look into that number too.
That's a great point. That's a great point. And, you know, family is really the glue that holds all this together. We need our seniors to be able to stay here and to be with their families and be where they want to be and be able to afford living here and enjoy the different amenities of living here. I mean, North Hempstead, you know, I know was voted one of the top places for seniors to live in the country. It's a real testament to Supervisor Bosworth's leadership and the town board and the great work that has been done there over a period of years and programs like Project Independence. And I think that's a real model that we need to see throughout our region. And as we looked at those numbers, one of the things keeping the numbers of people leaving from being much worse is family. That people cited family as a major reason to stay here in the region. Now more than ever before, people are mobile and there's job options and living options in other regions. And so family is something that really keeps people bound together. And, you know, our argument is that as a region, we need to do our part, just as we were the number one suburb and we led the league, so to speak, in previous decades and being, in creating job opportunities and helping this country go to the moon and so many other things. We need to do everything we can to stay competitive, to make sure that we are always a place that people want and can afford to live with and stay with their families.
You know, down that road, and what Rebecca was talking about, and I know Christina, who's not supposed to be speaking on this show, is also living in a mother-daughter kind of environment. And I believe one of the things that is lacking, we have an attitude that you have to have a one-family house, and multi-family mother-daughter dwellings are like that. You almost like get persecuted if you put somebody else in your house. I think that we have to have a focus that says maybe we need to have some more multiple family homes that families can move into and afford to stay there. I don't know how you change that, but I lived in a two-family house, if you will, back in Queens in my youth. And, it was the only reason my parents could afford to have a house. They
Absolutely
rent from somebody else. And it could have been maybe as I got older, I could have lived there. I think we have to change our outlook on that a little bit. And that could come from this COVID experience.
I couldn't agree more. I think we have to be willing to look at the facts anew and modernize and adapt. And sometimes what's new is old and what's old is new. And like you said, that's the way things used to work in a lot of ways. And people are saying, and clearly we're seeing it, all over the place. That's what they want. There's another example that it reminds me of is some period of years ago, it was considered taboo to do housing around train stations and what's called transit-oriented development. And then it turned out that it was actually very popular, and it lessened traffic and it created, the ability to help downtowns thrive. And it was something that young people really wanted. And so now Long Island, a little bit late to the party, but doing our part to catch up, has been encouraging transit-oriented development, and that has the potential to really bear economic fruits for us and really help in this ability to keep folks present, and that's a way of supporting our stores in our downtown communities that had been struggling with the advent of malls and ordering online and so to speak.
Well, I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of space left over with some of these malls, unfortunately. And what gets done with those malls in the future could be a positive, depending on what direction it goes in.
Yeah, you know what, Otto? That's a great point. We're at our last break with Nassau County Comptroller Jack Schnirman, and we will be back for our final segment.
Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead. One of the many services we offer is transportation for food, shopping, and medical visits. Call 311 or 869-6311 to get more information or receive services.
Welcome back to Project Independence and You, Senior Talk Radio, which is what we've been doing on Zoom. So it's both Senior Talk Radio and Senior Talk Radio on Zoom. We're speaking with Jack Schnirman, Nassau County Comptroller, and really getting a lot of great updates. And the reason we're on Zoom is, because of this COVID crisis. So we're learning a lot about some of the changes and some of the things that are happening. I think, working for the town, I really just want to give kudos, and I'm sure you too, Comptroller Schnirman, would like to just give some kudos to our IT departments. I don't think this storm of, everybody working from home and remotely and VPNs and, Zoom meetings. And for you, the Microsoft, or was it the Google Meets? Not everybody is computer savvy and tech, and we even with Project Independence, we now have a lot of our members coming onto Zoom meetings every single day. So, and it's because of a lot of it has to do with our IT department. So I wanted to give them a little bit of a shout out. All the IT departments at the county, at the town.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. It's funny you bring that up, because all the incredible IT workers have given us this opportunity to connect in ways that we couldn't connect before. And that imagine if this pandemic was happening, at a time with a lot less technology, we would be totally isolated. And the ability to connect in this time is so important, and hear someone's voice and look them in the eyes, even if it's through a screen, it's so valuable. And I think too often we only think of our IT departments when something goes wrong and we're grumpy. I think it's so important to stop and say thank you. It's always challenging to be in a job where if things go right, people don't notice. And if things go wrong, people are grumpy. So I think you're 100% right to stop and just say a very big thank you to everybody who's, making all of this go.
Yeah, I agree, because we do give a lot of kudos out here. You were talking about your staff and the residents and, and we're always thanking people, but it's really all of this wonderful stuff that we're able to do at home is because of our very busy IT department. So I'm sure they'll be happy when we're all back in our offices and set, instead of getting crazy calls from us and why can't I get on my Wi-Fi and I lost my passcode and all that kind of stuff. So, and it's great that, also with the modernization of your office. So this all made this transition, kind of, I want to say easier, but definitely, when you were talking a lot about accessibility, which is so important on every level for seniors, all different. And it really seems like you're trying to, with your modernization, make every part of your, of what you're doing, in the comptroller's office accessible. What, can you tell me, how does the comptroller, what things are out there for seniors? Like how can they get information easily? How can they check things out? What's the best way for seniors maybe that aren't necessarily technology savvy?
Great question. First of all, folks can always call our office. Our number is 516-571-2386. We have people always ready to be helpful. If people want to send an email, can always email us at either NC Comptroller, that goes directly to me, or at NassauCountyNY.gov. Or if you have a tip or something you want us to look at, it's reform it at NassauCountyNY.gov. And those are easy ways to get in touch with us. If folks are more technologically savvy, they can follow us along on Facebook at Nassau County Comptroller, or my personal Facebook is Jack Schnirman for Nassau. And you can always see, what we're up to there. And that goes on all the other platforms as well from a technology-wise. Always simple to look at our Open Nassau platform that I talked about as well. One thing that from a financial perspective, I would always remind people of, and I say this as a big baseball fan, who still hopes that we have a baseball season and that the Mets find a way to have a good one, and the Yankees too, for that matter. But I'm a big Met fan.
Not as good though. Not as good. I'm a Mets.
We'll see. You never know. I'm a long-suffering Mets fan. I made tough choices as a kid regarding sports, and it's a lifetime of headaches and heartaches over. But we take all of our complicated financial reports and boil them down to a simple scorecard, we call it, and we have that available on our transparency portal. It just basically says for every important financial piece of information going on in the county, are we on track or off track? Are we green, yellow, or red? Are we going in the right direction, the wrong direction? It's a nice, simple way of looking at it, nice and quick to get a quick overview of it. And it's something that I thought was a very important way of making complicated financial information easily accessible for people. But in better times, I would tell folks to stop by. But at this time, I would say just give a call, and we're always there. We're always there for you. And I think, accessibility like that is absolutely critical. I mean, I think one of the successes of the town of North Hempstead, for example, has been using 311 as a key way to be in touch with people. And it's a wonderful, wonderful service that you can make, one call to town hall and access all of your town services that way. And I really commend Supervisor Bosworth for investing in that program and moving it forward over a period of years. It's really a special thing, and it's one of the only ones on Long Island. Earlier in my career, I had started a similar program in the town of Brookhaven, and I think it's an important way to be in touch with residents. And being responsive is half the battle. Just being there and picking up the phone and the friendly voice and someone to say, "How can I help you? What can I do to solve your problem?" And a lot of times that's a big piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. Our 311 is a major component to Project Independence, our success, like you were saying, our ability to respond, to track all calls. I mean, it's everything from potholes to a senior needing, Meals on Wheels. So, I mean, it's everything. And it is a great tool. And, one of the things about Long Island, too, is we're just so resource rich. Because that our field is seniors and definitely for the seniors. So 311 is just another part of, all the resources that are here. And being in North Hempstead, we're in that northwestern border to New York City too. So we have a lot of information. People, is listening. If anybody's listening, I just wanted to put out there that all the information that the Comptroller just gave us about accessing the Comptroller's office, Nassau County Comptroller, you can call 311, and Christina, I'm sure, will make sure that you get all the information that you've provided us.
Thank you so much. That's just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Great. So,
Rebecca, just go back for 1 second. I'd like to give a little congrats to the town of North Hempstead for
please do.
encouraging seniors, which you know I'm a big supporter of using technology with all of the
Right.
different chats that you've had, technology for the terrified and all the different programs that are out there. And I think that COVID has really brought out the need for a senior to get technologically savvy. Whether you like the idea or not, it's here to stay. It's not going away. It's only going to get stronger and stronger. And the fact that Project Independence and the town have supported encouraging seniors to get up to speed with technical knowledge, I think deserves a big plus. It's an important part of the world now, and you have to be with it or you're out.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're 100% right. We've been doing computer classes and things like that for years. And Otto, you're on the technology committee, and we have technology for the terrified. But there are always going to be, seniors that are just not willing to change. But on the upside, we're also able to do a lot of our programs virtually. So we have the North Hempstead television station that you can watch some of our programs, our exercise programs, and Fun Day Monday, and all other kinds of things like that. And of course, even when we do these Zoom, we do Zoom book clubs. We have, I would say, maybe half call in. So we can also use, telephones and everything. I don't want, it's not a technology only thing, but I definitely see how we have broadened people, like we've lessened the fear, and that's why Technology for the Terrified is such a great program too.
What a great name.
Yeah.
Well, in facts are there are younger people who fall into that category also.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
They're afraid of technology for whatever reason, and it doesn't bite. It only does good things. Sometimes it's frustrating, but it's
right.
For the most part.
And I think a lot of the platforms, a lot of the programming today is so much easier though. And when the internet first started getting popular, even with Zoom, really what are you doing is all you need to do is have your, calendar or email open, and you just click the link and you're there, and you're just waiting to be accepted. And then, there is a lot of, like you were saying, Comptroller Schnirman about your stater. You need, with seniors, you do need have them sign on about a half an hour before you're actually starting your meeting. That's what we found, because there's some people that have trouble connecting, some people coming on by the phone, and all that. So
it'll all get easier as time marches on.
Right, definitely. So, we're coming toward the end. We still have several minutes before we're going to be finished with speaking with Jack Schnirman, who's the Nassau County Comptroller, giving us really critical updates of what's going on with Nassau County during COVID and beyond. So I'm just curious, are there any other points that you want to bring up, any other critical updates, or, even things that you've learned during this pandemic?
First of all, thank you again for having me, and thanks for asking. I think a few things that I've seen during this pandemic to just pass along is how important it is to have that ability to just take a little time and to be with family and to be, take time for yourself. The volume of news and information and hysteria in some ways going on all over the place can be a little bit overwhelming, and it's nice to just shut it all out for a little while and take a walk and spend some time with family. And one of the things I'm grateful for is that a little bit, in some ways, of the noise of everyday life can fade away sometimes during this time and have some time. As I mentioned, I've got 2 little kids, and it's every little bit of time with them is a wonderful thing, and introducing them to new things. My favorite thing has been to introduce them to old television shows. My daughter has gotten very into old Scooby-Doo episodes, which
Comptroller Schnirman, that is the best way to end this. Your daughter getting into Scooby-Doo. So we want to so much for spending this hour with us, and I hope that you come back and we can expand on this. But you've been a wonderful guest and just vital information for the residents of North Hempstead and also all of Nassau County. Thank you for all that you do, and we will.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Like what you hear? Here's how you can let us know. Give us a call at 516-299-2626 or email us at info@wcwp.org. Like us at facebook.com/mywcwp and leave a comment or tweet us at mywcwp. We welcome all kinds of feedback. To directly support the podcast you just enjoyed, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you'd like to give back, visit wcwp.org and click the support tab. Thanks for listening from your friends at WCWP.